Hundreds are being laid off in Maine and thousands nationwide after Hostess decides to shut down for good. We'll get to that story in just a moment, but first we want to start with breaking news out of the Mid-Coast. The Knox County Sheriff's Office is on the scene of a plane crash in Owl's Head that is just south of Rockland.
Media partners at the Press Herald confirmed that 2 people are dead. It's unclear how many people were on that plane when it went down. Now, this happened just before 5 o'clock tonight. Officials say the plane went down into the woods there off of Dublin Road. That's just a few hundred feet away from the runway of the Knox County Regional Airport.
We do have a crew on the way to the scene right now. We'll provide updates as they become available throughout this newscast and the web, and of course later tonight on News 13 at 11.
Well, it could be the end of an era, as Hostess says it is closing up shop nationwide.
The company, made famous by products like Twinkies, says it is being forced to liquidate because of an ongoing strike. It's the latest turn in a company experiencing financial problems for years. In a statement, company CEO Greg Rayburn says, "We deeply regret the necessity of today's decision, but we do not have the financial resources to weather an extended nationwide strike." Hostess Brands will move promptly to lay off most of its 18,500 member workforce and focus on selling its assets to the highest bidders. Hundreds of those layoffs are local workers now without a job. Our Catherine Underwood spoke with the mayor of Biddeford today. Catherine, what is the mayor saying about the situation?
Well, Kim and Greg, even though this plant is one of the city's largest employers, the mayor is optimistic. He's hopeful that another company will come in and take over and actually rehire this same workforce. But of course, that is not guaranteed. So right now he's working to make sure these families just make it through the holidays.
The state's rapid response team will come here and talk to the affected employees, talk about unemployment compensation, talk about various ways in which they can get by, because you know, when you lose your job, all of a sudden that's a frightening reality, and especially in this type of economy. So we want to make sure that they have a safety net so that they understand the process.
Now, these workers have told me that all operations have stopped at the Biddeford plant. So if you're wondering why they're still out here on the picket lines, well, they say they've heard the term liquidation before, and they're going to be out here until a court makes it official. Now, that could happen on Tuesday, and these folks are prepared to be here all weekend long. We're live in Biddeford tonight. Catherine Underwood, News 13. Kim, Greg, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Catherine.
Guilty of murder. That's the verdict from the jury for Buddy Robinson, now convicted in last summer's killing of a Lewiston woman whose body has never been found. Jurors took no time at all convicting Robinson for the murder of Christiana Fesmeyer. News 13's Brad Rogers has the story from Auburn.
Guilty. No reaction from Buddy Robinson as he is found guilty in the brutal murder of 22-year-old Christiana Fesmeyer. It only takes an hour for jurors to convict him. After the verdict, the Fesmeyer family breaks down in tears. Throughout the 8-day trial, prosecutors laid out a mountain of evidence against Robinson. Testimony of several confessions Robinson made to his sister, a friend, and a fellow inmate that he had killed Fesmeyer and that, quote, she died hard.
He talks about holding her down in the tub.
Detectives found Fesmeyer's blood splattered in her apartment and in the trunk of Robinson's car. Defense attorney Ted Dilworth tried to point blame to his client's sister, Brandy Robinson, who Fesmeyer worked for as a prostitute.
Buddy Robinson has been wrongfully accused. The evidence has not proven that Buddy Robinson killed Christiana Fesmeyer.
Prosecutors claim Brandy Robinson would have to be a criminal mastermind to pull off this murder.
This is not a whodunit. There is overwhelming evidence in this case.
In the end, jurors agreed.
We feel like we've had a huge burden lifted off of us right now. It's just a big relief to have this part of it all over with.
The Fesmeyer family, relieved at this guilty verdict, will now focus their attention on locating Christiana's body. As for Buddy Robinson, he could spend the next 25 years to life in prison.
I'd like to see if he doesn't get life, that he's going to come out as a very old man.
In Auburn, Brad Rogers, News 13.
A Portland elementary school is locked down this morning after a student is found with a gun inside the building.
This happened at Riverton Elementary School in Portland. That's where we find News 13's Steve Roldan live on the scene, and disturbing to say the least here, Steve.
Well, Kim and Greg, I can tell you the school was on lockdown for just under 2 hours this morning. It happened after a 10-year-old student brought a gun with him to school, and we're told it was another student who got the gun away from him. Now, Portland police arrived at Riverton Elementary School right around 8:30 this morning. Shortly after, an automated phone call was made to parents telling them what had happened. By late morning, the school was taken off lockdown, and police located the student and confiscated the weapon. School officials say it was another student who noticed that a 10-year-old had an unloaded gun in its pocket. That student grabbed the gun and gave it to a teacher. That student's parent tells News 13 he complained to the school. The same student had allegedly brought a gun to school about 2 weeks ago. School officials say they investigated the claim and found no evidence that had happened. But today, a much different story.
It was more nerve-wracking for the parents, as you know, we knew what was going on, whereas the students were just told to kind of huddle into a corner and just, you know, try, you know, as best as they could to continue their morning routine.
I came in and first I was scared, so what's going on, what's happened when I got the message on the phone. Then when I come in here, everybody's okay and everything is okay.
Keep in mind, one student violated the policy. You know, a young man brought a gun to school, but another student knew what to do, knew to do the right thing and recognized it as a danger and took the gun and brought it to a teacher immediately.
Some quick action by that student. Now, we're told a gun was unloaded, so the good news is no one was hurt in today's incident. But school officials say it's probably a good time to talk to your students and tell them what's appropriate, what's not appropriate in terms of what to bring to school. And they also say right now, as far as this 10-year-old who brought the gun to school, they're not talking about whether or not disciplinary action or any charges will be filed against him. That's the latest live here in Portland. Steve Roldan, News 13. Kim, back to you.
All right, tough day for everyone there. Thank you, Steve.
On the political edge tonight, Governor Paul LePage is again saying no to the National Affordable Care Act, known to many at least as Obamacare. He says Maine will not create an insurance exchange, a key provision of the health care law. Governor LePage made that official in a letter to the feds yesterday. He says there are just too many unanswered questions and too much liability for state taxpayers. In an interview with Bloomberg Business News, the governor said, quote, "I'm not lifting a finger. We're not going to get involved. We're going to let Mr. Obama do a federal exchange. It's his bill," end quote. Now, Governor LePage also has said that Maine will not expand Medicaid in 2014, another component of the health care law. The federal government initially told states they had until today as a deadline to declare their plans for an exchange, but that's been extended until December 14th.
We have an update tonight on the bronze vases stolen from a Portland cemetery. Most of those vases have been recovered. Investigators say the owner of a scrap metal company saw the story on the news, which prompted him to call police. Officials used that information to track down a suspect. That person is being held at the York County Jail on unrelated charges. New charges involving this case are expected soon. Investigators say they're still trying to track down about a dozen of the 60 stolen vases.
Now, your Weather Authority forecast with Charlie DePresti.
Welcome back, everyone. Today was another pretty nice day, right? We started with some clouds this morning, but the sun made an appearance. Then more late day clouds. I'm happy to report this nice stretch extends into Saturday and Sunday. In fact, hard pressed to find a cloud in the sky both days. Mid-40s will do it for highs, so temps a few degrees below normal. Normal highs about 47, 48 degrees. And notice those overnight lows slipping into the 20s. It will be cool for overnight temperatures. There are those clouds I was telling you about starting to move in. I captured a great time lapse from our Portland sky cam with some of those clouds rolling in, made for great colors at the time of the sunset. Tonight's sunset is at 4:14, getting earlier and earlier. But look at a nice sunset looking off to the west from our Portland sky cam there. Skies are clear to our west. They will remain mainly clear overnight. So lows tonight will bottom out in the 20s. Let's widen things out just a little bit. On tonight's satellite radar, you can see a few clouds in place overhead here in northern New England, but there's really nothing going on to our west. We have a nice big bubble of high pressure in place. With high pressure in place, that means we have several sunny days on tap for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I ran out of fingers here. Thursday. So I think we have a nice stretch of weather which will extend into the holiday. Storm tracker is going to start us off tomorrow morning with all these clouds moving out. Skies will go mainly clear overnight. The Leona meteor showers peak early tomorrow morning. If you want to view them, you check them out early in the morning. It's the best time will be just before dawn. You look to the southeast sky, you just see 20 plus per hour. So impressive viewing with clear skies. I think we'll be in pretty good shape. Temps will be in the 20s though, so bundle up if you're heading out that early. Temps early in the day will be chilly. Afternoon temps will be chilly as well. Maybe you're heading off to the football games. Well, 40s will do it for the midday games. The early game around 11 o'clock will be just a little bit cooler, around 40 degrees, and those temps will be falling into the 30s by the late game at Fitzpatrick Stadium. Dave's going to have more on that coming up in a little bit. Temps will be in the 20s early Sunday morning. Clear skies again. Starting to sound like a broken record, right? Clear skies each day. You guessed it, mid-40s for highs again on Sunday. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, lower to mid-40s here for most towns. Details in the forecast tonight, 20s for lows. Most towns inland, particularly in the hills and mountains, you will be dipping into the teens. So it's actually going to feel like December rather than mid-November. Winds are out of the north, fairly light, around 5 to 10. Unlimited sunshine on Saturday. Looks fantastic. Mid-40s for highs, a light north wind. Still staying around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Not lying, it's a quiet forecast here. We're storm-free right through the next 7 days. Full sun tomorrow, mostly sunny Monday. You'll see a few clouds filter in on Tuesday, but I don't think it's a big deal. Really, there's a very low threat for any wet weather at all, or any storms at all over the next 7 days. Our next chance for a storm or a weak disturbance will probably be next weekend, not this upcoming weekend, but the following weekend. And Greg and Kim, it looks like our weather pattern will become a little more active, not next week, but the week after that. That means probably a few more storms will enter the forecast.
So starting that next weekend is possible? All right. So when people try to come back from Grandma's house, that's when the storms start.
That's it. And I have my eyes on something maybe Saturday, but it doesn't look like a big storm either way. So it's probably a little clipper system if we get it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Charlie.